I can't believe she's finally done it.
Well, congratulations, girl. It's about goddamn time you got to this. It took you long enough. Man, can't believe you sometimes.
Congrats. We're out of sparklies. Shit. Congratulations. You finally did it.
Well, it took you long enough, but you're a real gamer now.
Wow. Congrats. You finally did it. You can finally have happiness in your life.
Oh, well. Congratulations, lady.
From the very bottom of my heart, I am so proud of you, Pelvic. Honestly, I'm amazed that you finally did this.
Lady Pelvic, I believe congratulations are in order because, from what I've heard, you decided to finally play through and beat the greatest game ever made.
I heard you finally beat Shining Force. That's amazing. Congratulations. What? Oh, you beat that other game. That's cool too.
Thank you guys so much for that wonderful opening. I greatly appreciate it. And guys, I finally did it. I played a timeless classic that constantly rivals Final Fantasy VI for the title of Best JRPG Ever. Opens up with Chrono, the silent protagonist, attending the Millennium Fair, which has some awesome low-key foreshadowing, celebrating a victory against the Fiend Lord's armies many years ago. You bump into a young girl, Marl. Yes, it's pronounced Marl, not Marley. And her pendant somehow flies 5 feet away. You pick it up and give it back, and suddenly she wants to join you around the fair. It's really that easy, fellas. Bump into a girl, make her drop her shit, find our shit, return it to us, and bam, you got yourself a date. So moving on, you see your childhood friend, Luca, I think it's pronounced, who is not nearly as hot as this current girl, who is testing a teleporting machine. You give it a go to impress your new chick, and everything works out. But when Marl takes it for a spin, things go amiss, and a time portal appears, sucking her in and leaving the pendant behind. Naturally, Chrono has this brilliant idea to recreate the portal and save Marl. This leads Chrono, Marl, and Luca in an adventure through time, going through the Middle Ages to save Marl. And that's when one of the more iconic characters of Chrono Trigger is introduced. His name? Frog. Just Frog. A knight from the Middle Ages cursed to look like a frog from the evil wizard Magus. Fast forward after retrieving Marl from the Middle Ages and getting accused of kidnapping Marl, who's more important than she leads on, they find themselves escaping to the present to flee into the grim future. An apocalyptic future where food is scarce, homes crumbled, mutated creatures reign with minimal human survivors, and of course, robots. Here's where Chrono and the gang learn of Lavos, a creature bent on destroying the world and succeeding. It's at this moment Chrono and friends decide to change the future by defeating Lavos. It's a pretty straightforward story, go through time, change the future. But what makes this game amazing, especially for its time, is when you fought Lavos. In a bizarre area called the End of Time, you see various portals of different time periods, including the Day of Lavos. Whichever point in time you decide to fight him, depending on where you're in the story, will result in one of 13 endings, one being exclusive to the DS version. Gonna show some ending spoiler footage, so if you want to keep your eyes virgin, please skip to this number right here. An example of the future changing is if you defeat Lavos before you fight the dinosaur people, it'll be presumed that the dinosaur people killed off the humans in the prehistoric era. Thusly, one ending will be the start of Chrono Trigger, but instead of looking like a human, he'll be a dinosaur. I personally hated this ending because I don't want to be a goddamn dinosaur. One of my favorite endings is number 9, Oath, where after you get the legendary sword for Frog, but before you fight the evil wizard Magus, Frog goes to Magus's castle and slays Magus's generals and the wizard himself alone, making him a complete badass. Or one of the hardest endings is fight Lavos with Chrono and Marl, or just Chrono in the very beginning of the game. That is the developer's ending, which by the way was the best ending ever. Talking to the developers in various points in time, some of which can be quite the troll. the endings is like 90% worth it. There were some endings I simply didn't care for. But a majority is well worth your while, giving this game a lot of replay value. It's also worth mentioning it's nice to not have to restart the game every time you beat this game. Instead, you pick up right before you fought Lavos. It's also worth mentioning in your second time around, things will be easier. All your items, minus story-driven key items, levels, techniques, and gold transfer into New Game Plus. I also want to touch upon the characters who I wasn't entirely impressed with. I think a big part of this game is I was so hyped up and I expected this game to blow my expectations out of the water in every regard. The characters were by no means bad, I just expected more. I found certain characters blended well together, like Luca, the tech-savvy nerd, and Robo, the robot, obviously had a connection. But I was hoping for characters who are vastly different in culture, origin, and time periods would have more colorful banter. Like Frog, the loyal and orderly knight, talking with Isla, the uncouth cave woman. I didn't really get much of them talking. And while I'm ranting, skip here if you don't want to hear this. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Marl and Chrono being romantically involved totally caught me left field. Like the true ending and what you saw between the two, I was like, bitch, when did all this happen? Like, there were 2 instances where Chrono hung out with her. That was the fair, and there was a dream of her telling Chrono to wake up. And I mean, yes, he did save her from the medieval times, but I took it as they were like saving a friend, you know, a party member. But whatever, in the end, they're an item, I guess. Like, I don't support this, but okay. Chrono doesn't even have a personality. Only in one of the endings he talks, and it's like, what, 2 sentences? Maybe 3? Anyway, the main point is, Isla and Frog are the best characters. And the secret character kind of grew on me. He just has so much angst, I can't not love him. Moving forward to the gameplay, it's your standard role-playing game. The DS version offers the new DS format, which I preferred over the cumbersome classic mode. Battles start by you walking to a specific part in the map and triggering enemies to creatively show up. From there, you dive into battle, waiting for your action gauge to fill up. From there, you can either do a standard attack, use an item, or use a tech. Tech being short for techniques, which are special attacks that consume MP. Techs are learned by gaining tech points, or TP, which is earned after each battle. Techs are super useful for attacking multiple enemies who move around the battlefield. Time your moves just right, and you might just be able to kill 2 or more enemies in one turn. Really take it to the next level are dual and triple techs, which use 2 or all 3 party members to unleash a devastating attack or supportive move. My only issue I had with combat is once you return to old locations and you were drastically higher level, no matter what, the enemies would spawn when triggered, and this was just a nuisance. When leaving one area of the map and then instantly returning to it, these motherfuckers are back. On a positive note, because of this, there wasn't much need for grinding. When you reached a boss, most of the time I found myself ready. Speaking on bosses, they were creative and fun in their own right, figuring out when to attack, the order of attacking what, or how to lower their defenses to do consequential damage. Real talk though, the combat is solid and holds up beautifully by today's standards. Another thing I really enjoyed in Chrono Trigger was essentially the essence of this game, which is playing with people's futures, and doing the side quests demonstrate that very well. I highly encourage you to go back to the various time periods at different points in the game. You might notice new landmarks or characters that weren't there before. A spoiler-free example of side quests is in the past if you give a woman jerky for free, whereas if you make her pay for it, her son will be a money-hungry and greedy man. That's just surface level stuff, but trust me when I say there are a lot more meaningful futures to change. My personal favorite part of Chrono Trigger is without a doubt the purposeful side quests. They're just so fun to do and to see what or who changes. Also, in New Game Plus, there are new areas called Dimensional Vortexes, which have you going through old levels with harder monsters, all to get the best character weapons and buffs for specific characters. If you complete all 3 Dimensional Vortexes, you unlock a DS exclusive ending, which by far unlocks the hardest boss. Apparently, this ending ties in with Chrono Cross. Let me know in the comments, but keep it spoiler free as I do plan on playing Chrono Cross one day. Either way, for the best items and buffs you get, make the Dimensional Vortexes worthwhile. Graphics. Y'all know me and my wide-ranging love for pixel art. I was instantly in love, pleasing to the eye. It was never boring to look at this game. Seeing the characters follow Chrono, each having their own unique animation for everything, running, their victory pose, their sleeping or KO'd look, how they're performing their tech, shaking their head if they couldn't interact with something, even their dancing. graphics are immune to the flow of time and are just beautiful. But that's not all you get. In the DS version of Chrono Trigger, you get cutscenes, with the easily recognizable art style of Akira Toriyama, the father of Dragon Ball Z and artist of Dragon Quest titles. And I think they did a really great job selecting what scenes to animate. It didn't feel forced, in fact, it felt quite welcome. And it did a marvelous job showing why or how this particular moment carried so much weight. Level design was also fun and clever. Townsfolk always say tread carefully in JRPGs, but most of the time it's a straightforward dungeon with enemies. Well, in Chrono Trigger that may be the case for some dungeons, but not all. If you don't watch your step, you could be sliding down a slippery staircase, or making noise causing monsters to arise. And not all these save points are what they seem. Dungeon areas were littered with unexpected twists, which make the exhausted run-of-the-mill dungeons that more interesting. Our last bit, the music, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pleasantly surprised. You get adventure, sadness, hype, despair straight to your ears, each era having their own music including the end of time. But what I really want to focus on are the character themes. Each character had a unique theme that perfectly captures what they're about. I believe the most iconic theme without a doubt is Frog's. It sums him up so nicely as he's a knight trying to honor his fallen mentor and proudly serves his kingdom while capturing that strong sense of adventure. That being said, my favorite character theme has to go to Robo, Luca being a close second. Robo is just so uplifting, but still futuristic and robotic. It instantly puts me in a good mood, and I can just jive. Okay, I can rant about each character's theme and why it's great, but we need to focus on the land and the sky. Zeal. I don't know what it is about sky locations, but they always get to me. Sky themes for the most part are always so chill and whimsical, and it's just great to listen to. And this is no different. Please enjoy The Corridors of Time, also known as Zeal's theme. Thoughts on the world's seemingly favorite JRPG, Chrono Trigger. My score is kind of split. I think back in the day it was definitely a 10 out of 10, no contest. It put a unique spin on time travel, it was accurately done while not being overly complex, and how it showed the results of you meddling in the past. Another thing that was jaw-dropping, even by today's standards, I'm dancing around spoilers here, but when something happens to the main character and you could complete the game, blew my fucking mind. I was stunned. Also, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day, it was common to have transitions into fights. You know, a flash of light, some kind of musical cue. This game, you just jumped right into it, which was something that was kind of big. So I get it. Playing by today, I feel like it's a 9 out of 10. It's still a solid game. The only thing that just, it missed for me was the character chemistry. I like the characters individually, but putting them together, there were few interactions where I was like, oh, you know, camaraderie, and there were others I just felt missed opportunity. And then some character chemistry, like Marl and Chrono, I don't get it. Bottom line, this is a game that I encourage you to play. It's very enjoyable, and it's fun, lighthearted, and just does everything right. Except the character chemistry. Mechanically speaking, Chrono Trigger does everything right, and being able to fight the final boss at any point in time for various multiple endings is nothing short of genius. So the big question is, Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger? Which do you prefer? Easily, I'll take Final Fantasy IX. Whoopsies! So that brings you to which game do you prefer? Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger? I take Chrono Trigger any day. I enjoyed exploring more, I enjoyed the story more, the mechanics more, just damn it. I think the real winner here is Final Fantasy IX. For me, it was Chrono Trigger. I enjoyed being able to fight the final boss whenever I wanted, however I wanted, with whoever I wanted. I enjoyed the story more, the pacing, exploring. I enjoyed that 10 times more than I did in Final Fantasy VI. So, Chrono Trigger. And the characters for me, I think I enjoyed the personality of Chrono Trigger characters, but I enjoyed the backstory of Final Fantasy VI characters more, if that makes sense. Also, who's your favorite character in Chrono Trigger? I already said Isla and Frog. I also like the secret character too. And finally, I want to say a huge thank you to all the YouTubers who took the time out of their busy schedules to do this little mini collaboration with me. All of their socials are linked in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review as much as I did. Also, please check out all of these YouTubers I have here, and they're listed in the description below with all of their socials linked. They're such good people. I think this review was pretty successful. I can't wait to see your reactions on Parasite Eve and Tales of Berseria. Ooh.